Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to the Motormania podcast for today, Friday the 15th of November. Hello everyone, welcome to the show, and we're coming into sort of the Christmas season now. Festive season's beginning across much of the world right now, particularly here in the UK, with Christmas events taking place over the next month or so. But in the car world, well, the stockings certainly will be out, and at the end of the year, I'll be talking about the latest news for 2025 with some new cars to look forward to. But meanwhile, we're going to be talking about all things cars today, automotive theme. This is what the Motormania podcast is all about. You can watch this show live on YouTube tonight. I'm your presenter, Charlie Tolhurst, guiding you through the whole show. You can also click on the link for Chaz and Squash to watch the Tonight Show podcast, which was aired last night with me and Zach. We were talking all things politics and much more on the show, and sport as well. Meanwhile, though, we're going to quickly go over stuff. Now, obviously, F1 was last week. Obviously, we had the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. I kind of highlighted down last week's show where Max Verstappen won. And F1 does return in about a week's time to Las Vegas. Meanwhile, though, Formula One have announced some major news that I'd like to bring you on the podcast tonight, which is the huge event that is taking place at the O2 Arena. Yes, the O2 Arena have announced a huge event for the 2025 season launch, which will be taking place next February. I believe it is the middle of February, yes, on the Tuesday at the O2 Arena. And this event looks absolutely stunning, if you ask me. According to this, all 10 teams, Alpine, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Haas, Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull, RB, Red Bull, Sauber and Williams will be launching together in one launch spectacle or one launch spectacular. It's also glad it's to celebrate F1's 75th anniversary. The tickets have gone on sale today. 3 tiers of tickets if you sat from £58 to £113. These include booking fees through the additional transaction fee of £2.50 will apply. The tickets will go on sale, as I said, at 10 o'clock today. You bet you can. The event will also be streamed live with details announced in the coming weeks. So if you can't attend the event in person, the event will be streamed live. I probably believe on YouTube or maybe on social media, I reckon. You have to wait a little longer for those teams as they'll be pushing them to get ready, packing them up and shipping them to Bahrain for pre-season testing instead. You'll have the 2025, you'll see the 25 livery show cars. The 3-day test will commence after the event in O2, which will run from 26th to 28th February, with the first race taking place in March. Obviously, it started a lot earlier this year because we've had that record season of races. So, in fact, the Australian Grand Prix will be the return. We're going to return to Australia for the first time, I think, as an opening race since obviously 2020 when that got cancelled. 2019 was the last time properly that the Australian Grand Prix held a race. But yes, Australia is going to be the main venue for Formula One, which is March the 14th to the 16th. Funny enough, it's actually my birthday weekend that weekend. The Australian Grand Prix comes on. But of course, that is the main news. FMF1 also as well. Monaco have announced the extension to 2031 of the new 5 to 6 year deal that will see the race Monaco Grand Prix ran at the Circuit de Monaco, a temporary street circuit located in Monaco, France. I have to say, kind of a weird track, really, that one. Would you want to see cars actually being... Well, are they outgrown Monaco a lot now? I don't know on that as well. We also had the Formula E test as well during the week as well at Jamara Circuit as well. I want to go over the Formula E lineup actually for 2025 because there's some very interesting 24-25 grid. Very interesting, this lineup actually. I really want to go through this because this lineup is actually very, very important. I really want to go through this lineup here. The 2024-25 grid has pretty much been announced now. So, yes. I have to say, looking at the grid, it's certainly looking very interesting. With who's going to be driving for each team. How we're going to be getting on. So, in terms of the teams, we got Jake Dennis and Nico Muller. That is the first team announcement there. They are going to be with Andretti. DS Penske, meanwhile, Stoffel Van Dorn has left the team. Jean-Eric Vergne has Maxi Günther as a new teammate. Robin Fries and Sebastian Buemi remain within Vision. So does the Jaguar lineup, retained for Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy as well. Cassidy there as well. I think he lost the championship last year. I think Pascal Wehrlein actually won that. We then have a new team called Kiro Racing. I'm not sure if their lineup has actually been announced yet, but I know they've actually. I think that might be Neo. I'm pretty sure that is Neo. I think that is the rebranded Neo team. I've heard that. I think that lineup's still on the I'm not sure. Then we have the new entry for 2025, which is the Yamaha, lowly Yamaha Formula E team. Basically, lowly Yamaha are basically the rebranding of Apt. They're going to be using a Lola T1 car, and it's going to be Lucas Di Grassi and Zane Maloney, who is actually from Barbados. Believe it or not, I think he used to race in he's already won British Formula 4. I think he might have some British background, I'm not sure. But yeah, Zane Maloney, I think he raced in, like, was it Formula 2, Formula 3? Local series. He's racing at Lola. Mahindra is going to be Eduardo Mortara. Nick De Vries remains with Mahindra for another season. This is where the interesting comes. Jake Hughes has switched teams. McLaren do not have Jake Hughes now. He's switched. They have Maserati have an all-new lineup. Hughes and Van Dorn. Van Dorn switches from DS Penske. I think he was only there for a season or two. He's going to be driving for Maserati. In McLaren, Neon McLaren will have Sam Bird, who stays at the team. Taylor Barnard will get a full-time drive after driving a couple of races last year for them. Oliver Rowland and Norman Nato will be a Nissan. I think Rowland, I'm not sure he's back at his old team. And Porsche, Tag Heuer Porsche unchanged. Verline and Da Costa are unchanged at Porsche there as well. Obviously, Porsche won last year's championship with Pascal Wehrlein. He's the reigning champion. First race for the teams next season. We have the calendar coming up now. The first race is at the end, towards the end of the year, actually. In fact, we go racing in Formula E on the 7th of December. It's only a few weeks away. A huge calendar ahead. 16 races. We finish on the 27th of July in London. In fact, there's a double header in London to finish the season. The first race is Sao Paulo, Brazil. Mexico City will be the second race. That will be in the new year on the 11th of January. And Formula E also go to Miami on the 6th. That could be a potential Miami race in that as well. I believe the Miami race. It's going to be the Miami race is on Homestead Miami. Just to confirm that they'll be running on the road course version of the Homestead Miami Speedway. It's not actually on the F1 Autodrome track. As well as that, they'll also be using the Gen 3 Evo this year as well, which is the brand new F Formula E car being out. So, yes, plenty of that news as well. We also had, I think, the female test as well this week. So, plenty of news from Formula E. That is certainly all the motorsport news I'll bring you. Also, congratulations to Joey Logano for winning the NASCAR Cup Series Championship the other week as well at Phoenix. So, that's the other news now. Car news. Let's get on to that now. Plenty of news from motoring now. Let's talk car news. Whilst we're here, we've got quite a few bits of car news to talk about today. Hyundai have announced Ioniq 9. This is going to be launching very soon. It's a 7-seat electric SUV that's coming out, according to Hyundai. Yes, if you know the i5, the Ioniq 5N, that car had, of course, very quick 0 to 60 time. It's going to have a 96 kilowatt battery, 200 brake horsepower rear-wheel drive, 378 brake horsepower dual motor 4-wheel drive version in these configurations. It ran 350 miles. Doesn't catch the Volvo XC EX90 at 374 miles of range. So Hyundai is certainly making yet another EV, according to What Car here as well. Also trending other articles as well. When it comes to What Car Reliability Survey, the most least and reliable small SUVs and large SUVs. According to What Car's survey, number one was the Mercedes GLC. They found the typical time off the road was less than a week. 4% of battery were common faults. Most common faults were actually 4% of the batteries. Generally a robust model, actually. Mercedes have covered all the necessary repairs. Second was the Volvo XC60, PHEV and petrol. They claimed that 5% were bodywork, 5% non-electric sat-nav, 5% infotainment. The average repair cost is 0. However, 33% of those were stuck in a garage overnight. Hyundai was a reliability rating of 95%. Came with a bodywork at 4% and non-electric engines was 4%. Time on the road for 56%. And that's for the Tucson. The glitches would do bodywork and electrical systems. The Macan also tied as well, Porsche Macan, with electrics and bodywork. The Q5 PHEV also was on the list with non-electrical faults. It shelled out 82% of diesel and petrols were quicker to fix too. Out the 5 cars are back on the road in less than a week. The BMW iX3 was on the list actually here. BMW covered the cost of 100% remodel work. Also, Jaguar F-Pace 2016 to present. F-Pace owns at 17% of owners claim they had a fault with the car, with bodywork 5%, 4% of the brakes. The Tucson as well, older version of the Tucson there, saying that it was gearbox as well. The XC90 diesel and the X3 diesel also had this as well, 4% electrics and exhaust. The Mazda CX-60 though leads the way, actually 68.8% when it comes to. Apparently, it's saying it's the most least dependable version in the Mazda lineup, the CX-60. Came 33% on suspension, 24% on steering, and 19% on electric. So, definitely some interest in the Velar, Cougar diesel as well. So, yeah, in terms of reliability, large SUV survey, Mercedes GLC from 2015 to present actually tops that list on 97.9%. And at the bottom is the CX-60, which is at the bottom there on 68.8%. So to me, that car's had a lot of issues, the CX-60. Anyone who buys that car. Not ideal, given that, according to this poll here, it claims, in short, that when you think about it, in all fairness, it claims that Mazda do actually cover all repair costs for that car, but has had a lot of issues. Steering faults, electrical systems. Not ideal, really, when you think of Mazda. Mazda usually should be recommended. I think they're Japanese. They're usually meant to be reliable, but it seems like the newer Mazdas have had some issues. So that's not ideal there as well. So that's an interesting development. Anyway, that's on that part there. Also, as well, in terms of car news, as well, that really is a what car reliability survey that was done. As well, I'm going to move on now and talk about we're going to go into Top Gear now to talk about some news here. Back onto the new car stuff. Now, in the news this week, what's been catching my eye over the last week? Here, Jaguar have announced an all-new 4-door electric GT supercar, sort of according to Top Gear here. This is the car in heavily disguised livery at the moment. It looks like a rebirth of the car. It will be the very big electric cat's story when Jaguar revealed a design vision concept, one suspects to be a vision of the car's design as well. In terms of this as well, the car is expected to be reimagined. It's electric. What do you expect? It's an electric car. Not really much to say on that. So, yeah, definitely working as well. In terms of more news, the Honda Passport is all grown up and wants to be an all-wheel Passport. So, yes, Honda have a car called the Passport. Thankfully, it's American. An American car with an American purpose. Yes, it's a wild sentence that might send you straight to sleep. The 4th gen actually turns the Passport into a surprisingly cool-looking thing. According to this, the RTO, you get the Trail Sport version, which comes with LED daytime running lights, off-road suspension, steel skid plates, and all-terrain readouts inside as well. The Passport will also have more rear legroom than before. Will also come with a 285 brake horsepower, 3.5 litre V6 engine. You think, oh, great news, until you come to the gearbox, which is a 10-speed automatic. And there's also new torque vectoring with 30% fast responses. Honda, hold on a minute. You are creating a lot of these new big, this isn't even a pickup truck, guys. It's an SUV. It's going to have a 10-speed gearbox. This is the same type of gearbox you get in the Ford Ranger. Is that really crazy? I'll put a 10-speed gearbox in one of them things. Just have a manual. But obviously it's American. It's going to have that big 10-speed. Probably help the economy. Maybe as well. So, Definitely interesting. This is the photograph here, guys, for the Honda Passport. It kind of looks like a passport, actually. It's kind of orangey colour. Like, passports are kind of like a burgundy colour. You know, like you're going through airport security. I've just handed my passport in to the attendants on the desk. They check my passport. They check everything, whether it's Ryanair, Virgin, and all that kind of stuff. So it really feels like Honda are kind of trying to appeal aviation into cars. It's certainly an interesting development on this one. I don't know what to say on that, actually. Honda Passport certainly looks very interesting, to say the least, as well. So, yeah. Don't know about you or don't know about me, but that is interesting. America really has to have some interesting discussions as well. So, yeah, certainly very interesting as well. In terms of other car news, really, not much else really to report, actually, on car news. However, though, I do have some news that I want to share with you guys, which I think is quite important, actually. And that's Bentley. They're announcing an luxury urban SUV. I've probably mentioned this on the show before. It's going to be on the underpinnings of the Macan EV and the Audi Q6. And yeah, Bentley have announced that it's going to update the Continental and Flying Spur already only offered with E-Pace hybrid powertrains. This car is also probably expected to sit below the Bentayga. So I'm very interested to see how that gets on as well. So that's the end there of the car news. Right, time now for some new content coming to the Motormania channel. I thought I'd maybe talk on my podcast about content coming. So I'm going to be doing lots of content. I'm going to be talking in the next week or so. These are the new videos that are going to be coming in some information videos. The latest video that went online was about the Range Rover. So if you've got any questions on the Range Rover, please watch that video. I'll be linked in the description. That'll be about the Range Rover. I spoke about the history of that car on another video. Went over the underpinnings of the car and stuff like that. What I want to talk to you about today, though, guys, is, of course, some videos coming. MG are going to get a bigger mention on the show. I actually drove an MG3 today, guys. I had it as a courtesy car because my car went in. My ZS went in today that I own. Had a diagnostics test done. But yes, I drove an MG3. It was a manual one I drove. But I'm going to be talking about the MG3 during the week. I really want to talk about this car. To anyone who doesn't know the MG3, it's actually a car that was built by MG for a little while, actually. The MG3 was actually, yeah, an interesting car, to say the least. It was built just not for recently, actually. In terms of cars, yeah, it's actually produced by a Chinese company. It's basically based on a Rover 25. It was actually built. It was out in 2008. Features front wheel drive. Very slow though. I must admit, I drove it and it was really slow. Like the car feels really, really slow. Like the manual gearbox is like really notchy at times. But having said that though, I actually think the MG3 is one of the best value small cars. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. Like to drive, it might be slow, but I actually don't mind the car. I think it's got decent interior space as well. Actually, for a car of that size, you know, it's pretty good. Small. I know. The problem with it is the engine. It needs a new engine. It's got a more powerful engine now. I have heard MG have recently bought a new version out of that car. I've heard the new version's much better than the old one. So definitely worth consider driving the new version of the car because I think you'll really change. I think it's got electric technology as well. I think it might be hybrid. So definitely check that car out because I've heard a lot of good things about that actually. We've got a video coming on that, the MG3. I'm very excited to talk about MG as well. A brand that I know very well is the MGB and stuff like that. But the final thing I want to talk to you about, guys, on the show tonight, before we wrap this up, well, I'm going to talk, and this might sound a bit weird, okay? I'm going to be talking about the war on motorists. Now, I have to be honest with you guys, okay? When it comes to schemes like pay per mile, I really want to actually explain what pay per mile is. Now, I don't usually cover politics on my show, but I will today because I want to talk about this. Now, we have ULEZ in the UK. Okay, ULEZ is what is called the ultra low emission zone. Now, basically, if you drive into parts of London, it's now all of Greater London, by the way, that's in that zone after it was extended in August of last year. Basically, if you drive in that ULEZ zone, you now have to pay £12.50 if your car does not meet the emissions requirements, or if it's over a certain age. Well, Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, has announced what could be potential. I'm not going to go into opinions on this, but I'm going to talk about it because this is an important piece of news that I think motorists will be a bit concerned about, actually. There are plans to introduce a new paper mile system. So according to Labour, it could end up costing drivers £800 a year. Now, under the plan, ambitious plans by Labour, they're about to press ahead with the banning of new petrol and diesel cars by 2030. Now, the push of electric vehicles is expected to deprive the Treasury of around $30 billion a year in missed fuel duty, leaving the government a financial blockade that needs to claw back cash elsewhere. Now, according to the Campaign for Better Transport, policy advisors are being told the resolution found for 6p per mile. There are also claims that that Tony Blair also was introduced suggested cars and vans should be hit with 1p per mile, whereas large vehicles should get up to 4p per mile rate, it said. Now, these charges could snowball the 12p per mile rate by 2050. One income could potentially evaporate. Now, I think that you got the congestion charge in London, you know. When you drive in some of these cities, okay, I'm not going to go into politics very much, but with some of these cities, okay, like London, Birmingham, Manchester, you have what's called a clean air zone. And basically, you have to pay. Basically, you have to go online. You have to go onto a government website and type in the registration number of your vehicle. And your vehicle will come up, whether it's, I don't know, a Mazda 3, an MG 3, or even maybe an old Vauxhall Astra or something. You type that into the government website, okay? When you type it into there, okay, you can go onto this like clean air website and type it in. Now, if you check on there, if you make sure you check that. If you check and say your car is not within the requirement, you have to pay to go in the zone. Because I went into Birmingham a few years ago to do a squash event, and I didn't realise I actually was all right. I got exempt. I had a full Fiesta at the time, and I was exempt. But if your car is over a certain age, according into these zones, you will have to pay the charge. Luckily, in other cities, it's a lot cheaper than in London. But just be aware, guys, because a lot of these schemes do catch people out. And there are cameras around as well. Lots of these cities do have the ULEZ cameras or clean air zone cameras. So just be aware of that because it is very, very important. We don't want motorists getting caught out. That's the last thing you want. So I'm not going to go much into politics around this. You know my views on ULEZ. I'm not going to go into that. But I'm just saying that schemes like this are very interesting. They're controversial and interesting, to say the least. So, I mean, paper mile is certainly something that I don't expect that. And also you've got vehicle excess duty. You can actually see a little graph there of showing collected and projected duty. So it's really interesting. Like I said, though, you know, there will be a lot of people that will campaign for the ban of petrol and diesel cars. I certainly don't want petrol and diesel cars banned. You know my views on electric cars. I think that at the end of the day, people have a choice whether to get electric or not. It's very expensive now. In fact, recently the Mini Cooper, the new Mini JCW electric is going to cost about £32,000, I think. So it's going to be interesting. And I think the Aceman as well, that's a new electric car Mini have made. I think that's also electric as well. So it's very interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to be concerned about how expensive these electric cars are. So you'd be interested to see how you get on in this because it's certainly going to be expensive. But all I can say is comment down below, guys, what you make to these potential new pay per mile charges coming in. Do you think that these cars that are over a certain age could be affected? Let me know in the comments. But that's it for the Motormania podcast tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm your host, Charlie Tolbers. Take care, and we'll see you again next time for another edition of the show. Take care, and goodbye.